Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for being here Thursday, August 14th. Jaguars do have practice today. Apparently, it's going to be a pretty intense practice, full pads, supposed to be a scrimmage-like practice, according to Liam Cohen. So we'll keep you updated on that later in the day. Starts a little bit later this morning than usual. But right now, I wanted to take a look at what I think the Jaguars' potential ceiling and floor is here in 2025. No notes going off the dome on this stuff, but I have a pretty strong feeling about where I'm at with the ceiling and the floor, basically, for the Jaguars, and we'll talk about it here. So I really appreciate you being here. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear like the hat I'm wearing right now. Look good while supporting the channel further. Really appreciate you. So, Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll start with the floor. And I think one thing we can say, pretty close to certain, special teams will be helpful. Special teams is going to help the Jaguars, not hinder the Jaguars, so that's good. I don't think that there's really much of a floor to be had on special teams, based on everything we've seen with the top three special teamers and then like the core group around them and Heath Farwell's coaching. I think they're going to have a good special teams unit. It's going to help them, potentially win games. Defensively, what is the floor? I think it could be pretty bad. I think it could be really bad. Again, the floor. The floor to me looks like Anthony Campanile goes through a lot of growing pains as a defensive coordinator, first time in the NFL. There's a lot of poor performances, missed alignments, missed assignments early on, maybe throughout the season. Defensive tackle doesn't get settled. Like, you don't get Eric or Mason Smith for a consistent amount of time, and even when you do, they're not quite ready because they didn't have training camps. It still remains to be seen when they'll be back. I still think Mason Smith looks really close. But again, still on the active/PUP, Mason Smith is. Your safety position doesn't really get worked out. Eric Murray had a career year last year, but in a much different environment. Like, Houston has an elite defensive head coach and elite talent around Eric Murray last year. That doesn't happen again this year. Your other safety spot, just not very good because Caleb Branshaw, dealing with injury, isn't ready to make that full-time transition to being a starting safety in the NFL after playing outside corner and nickel in college. The more I look at that pick, the more it reminds me of Trayvon. Obviously much different stakes in the third round versus the first overall pick. But you had the opportunity to draft Aiden Hutchinson. You went and got Trayvon Walker. And I love Trayvon, obviously, but nobody's comparing him to Aiden Hutchinson at this point. And then with Caleb Branshaw, you go get this guy who has unbelievable traits, hard working football player, tough football player, doesn't miss tackles, does things the right way, but hasn't really done what you're going to ask him to do, right? Same thing with Trayvon Walker. Hasn't really played edge full-time the way you're asking him to do, and Caleb Branshaw hasn't played safety the way you're asking him to do. But both of these guys have unbelievable traits, and you had proven commodities available. Again, Aiden Hutchinson, this time Xavier Watts, when you took these guys. So it'll be interesting to see how that ends up playing out. That's just kind of a little sidebar. But safety doesn't look very good right now. Defensive tackle doesn't look very good right now. You have the two guys that they wanted to be starting outside are both injured right now. Tyson Campbell's day-to-day. Maybe he'll be back today. Maybe he'll be back this week. Maybe he won't have a injury-laden season the way he has the last couple years. Maybe not. And Buster Brown was supposed to be a starter for them on the outside. That's not happening either. Now, I personally thought Jarian Jones should be out there anyways, but corner is unsettling right now. Safety is unsettling right now. The defensive operation in week one, when the starters were out there, given we know it was only one drive, but that was unsettling. Defensive tackle is unsettling. So there's a floor here with this defense where I think that they could be a really bad unit. Now, one thing I will say, I think the offense, even if the offense isn't what we want it to be in Jacksonville, I think the offense will help the defense out more than the offense did last year in terms of just giving them a rest. I think that the defense will have some fight. I think Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Foye Oluokun, Travis Hunter, Jarian Jones, like these guys really do bring it at a high level, and I think they have good edge depth now. So like I think that there's some things there that are going to prevent it from bottoming out the way that last year's defense did. But I still think it could be pretty bad. I think at worst, though, they will be a little more opportunistic and a little bit more well-coached and bought in than they were last year. So that could still be pretty bad, but at least I think that there's going to be times where they can get off the field, times where they can force turnovers, right? I do. And Jordan Lewis, I forgot to mention, I think he's going to be a really good addition. But I still think they could be like a bottom 75th percentile or below, like bottom 8 defense in the NFL for sure. I think that could be the case. Again, talking about the floor, I think offensively the floor is you have a offense that can move the ball, an offense that is creative, that uses motion, that uses the screen game, that gets Trevor Lawrence easy answers, that creates space for your top players, but there are too many mental mistakes, pre-snap penalties, post-snap penalties, drops, missed assignments on the offensive line, missed reads by the quarterback, to where probably, the numbers from a total yards looks pretty good, but you just don't put up the points you want to or need to with a defense that is, potentially very subpar. And I think that's where you get the floor. Offensive mistakes lead you to not be able to win these shootouts with a defense that is plucky and aggressive and makes plays here and there, but just not good enough at certain spots to really be a good unit. So I think that that's the floor. And what does that lead to? I mean, that again, with a good special teams unit, that probably puts you around 6 wins, because I think there's no chance that the offense is as bad as it was last year. I think there's really no chance that the defense is as bad as it was last year. And so you get to 6 wins. Last year, the Jaguars should have been minimum like a 7-win team based on just like regression, win regression, one little play happening different here and there during a specific game. Like they had like 8 to 10 games where they were within one score of winning the game. I'm not trying to say they were a good team last year. They weren't. But I think 6 wins is legitimately probably the floor. Ceiling-wise, I think you start with the offense with that ceiling. We'll start with special teams, but start with the offense. I think the offense has the potential to be really freaking good. Really good coaching. Really good offensive design. Really good play calling, play sequencing. Hitting all those little areas that really help offenses succeed. And then Trevor Lawrence being more comfortable in that than he has been the last year and a half, right? Having Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr., I think, is a potential cheat code, honestly, for this offense. Like those two guys, it's possible that during their first year together on offense that they become like a top, I mean, I think there's legitimate possibility they become a top 5 wide receiver duo in the league. But even if you want to say the ceiling is them being a top 10 wide receiver duo in the league with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, playing more comfortable in this Liam Cohen offense that gives him more answers, that guides him to be more of an effective NFL quarterback. Yeah. Better running game. Even if the running game's not great, which I don't know that it will be great, it will be better. It will be better coached and better schemed up than it has been. So I mean, I think the offense could be ceiling, again, could be a top 5 offense in the league. Defensively, what is the ceiling? And safety play is concerning. Defensive tackle injuries are concerning. Corner injuries are concerning. But let's say you get Mason Smith and Eric Armstead back for the regular season and they're actually ready to play. Let's say, Tyson is able to actually play. I think they could be probably like in the around middle of the pack defensively in totality. But a defense that combined with the offense that we're talking about, the ceiling offense that we're talking about, gets you to be a really good team. And a defense like that with an offense like that, I think there's guys that can get their hands on the football. And even though I don't love the safeties, I do think that they're smart and they can get downhill and break up passes. Jordan Lewis can break up passes. Travis Hunter can break up passes. Get their hands on the football. Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Emmanuel Ogbah, DeJuan Smoot, plus Eric Armstead, Mason Smith. You can get a little excited about that. I think the linebackers are good. So, yeah, that to me is like maybe slightly ahead of middle of the pack, maybe like 13 to 14, 15 range, something like that in the NFL. Peak defense for the Jaguars this year. And that's probably, if all those things come together, it's probably a 12-win team. Because even if all those things come together, there's just going to be a little bit of growing pains at times with a coaching staff that has never done this before. At almost every level of the coaching staff, you have somebody who hasn't done this before, right? Liam Cohen, never been a head coach. Anthony Campanile, never been a defensive coordinator. Defensive coordinator. Grant Udinski, and he did do it in college, so you have to say that. He was a co-defensive coordinator in college, but not at the NFL level. Grant Udinski, never been an offensive coordinator. Goes on and on and on. So, yeah, I think even if this team plays how it could, there's going to be some growing pains. You're going to lose a couple close games here and there, et cetera. You'll probably have a couple bad games. I think 12 wins is probably the ceiling. 6 wins I put at the floor. So, that's a massive gap in the potential possible outcomes for this team. Usually the way I look at it is I try to come somewhere in the middle of what I think the ceiling and floor is. Do I think the ceiling is more likely? Do I think the floor is more likely? I'm starting to feel like I think that the floor is more likely on defense, or being closer to the floor is more likely on defense. I feel like I'm closer to the ceiling on offense. I really do think the combination of Liam Cohen, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be special. And then you add in a good enough offensive line, good enough run game, good enough ancillary pieces with ETN, Tootin, Bigsby as a runner. Brenton Strange, I think, is a good player. De'Ami Brown as wide receiver 3. Parker Washington can make plays. So that's where I'm at. I think the offense is going to be good. I think the defense is going to be bad. So I would put them, I think last time I did this, I was at 10. When I first did it, 10 wins. When I first did it, I was at 9. I'd probably be about 9 right now if I had to predict. Part of that is the schedule. It's not an easy schedule necessarily when you talk about playing the AFC West and the NFC West, but you do get the Panthers in week 1. You get the Titans and Colts twice. You get the Texans, who I think that, those are tough games, but I think you'll probably split with them. You get the Jets in Jacksonville. Some of these teams have to come to Jacksonville again from the AFC West and the NFC West. You do have to go out west a good bit, but yeah, I think 9 is where I would be at right now. Ceiling of 12, floor of 6, split the difference, put them at 9. Yeah. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. And if you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.